like a man is able to act many things and not be given any judgment, whereas women, I feel, get typecast a lot more or put into certain roles because they look glamorous or because they don't look glamorous.
A woman of power. Let me tell you why. She designed the show herself. She wrote the show herself. She directed the show herself. She did it all herself, and it was still seen by everyone as amazing, even men.
Oh, okay. I just want to say that. I want to say sorry.
All that's missing is the light bulb above Kelly's head.
Kelly literally is my in the studio nurse. I walk in there with no water, and she's like, why did you come here?
Where's the snacks?
I absolutely want to it that when you would go to like rehearsal or whatever and you're on period, you have to go to the bathroom and you're like, but you've just been like.
Hello, welcome to another episode of our podcast. Hello. For those of you who don't know, we are a theatre company called Pursued by a Dragon, and today you are joined by the ladies of Pursued by a Dragon, myself, Kelly, Yeva and Shamika, and we've got a very special guest for today, Naomi. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Like, just give yourself a little intro, maybe like what you do.
Sure. Well, I'm Naomi. Hello. I was in the very first version of Feeling Lonely at Parties, so Pursued by Dragon's artistic director's useless brainchild, and I went with the company to Pulse Festival in Ipswich, which was in May 2019, so pretty much a year ago. But yeah, so then I sort of bid you guys farewell for a bit. And now I'm sort of doing a little bit of all sorts, really. I do a lot of performance, I do work with youth theatre, and I'm also, fancy title coming up, Access and Inclusion Coordinator at Temporary Theatre Company, which is a new up-and-coming theatre company, which is much more in its baby stages than Pursued is, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing.
So today's topic is women in theatre. So I mean, I was thinking about it that, we're going to talk about this. And one thing that was kind of like in my mind was that although I am a girl and I would like to play, I would expect to play that, she's gorgeous and she's so nice and, she's a lady. I always play someone. I play Mephistopheles. I play someone who killed her husband. I play someone who's, just like not very nice, not very galley roles. And I remember first year at university, our lecturer told me that, you're given this role because you never played something like that, and I want you to explore that.
I was going to say, I think that sometimes I have the opposite problem. I think people don't necessarily perceive me as a very feminine figure. So I think often a lot of the characters that I end up playing are quite strong-willed, not necessarily the most effeminate people. But it is interesting, I think, always that challenge to have to figure out who you are. I remember in second year, I actually had to play a character that was written as a man, but we played her as a woman. And then that was kind of
production.
That was The Possibilities.
Okay.
I was cast as Alexander the Emperor, and I had to sort of then figure out how to play her in that sort of effeminate way. So I do get it's kind of tricky trying to figure it out, but I guess that's all part of acting as well, and being able to show that you're a skilled performer, isn't it, to be able to round yourself. I think it's tricky as in relation to being a woman in theatre, though. I think there's a difficulty in that, depending on who you're cast as. I feel like women face a lot of judgment from other people about the kind of people that they are when they perform. So and there's a lot more, a man is able to act many things and not be given any judgment, whereas women, I feel, get typecast a lot more or put into certain roles because they look glamorous or because they don't look glamorous or anything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's coming from like ancient theater though, you know, when men used to play even women, like women couldn't act and men used to play women with like masks and stuff. And I think, what the hell was that about? Why wouldn't you just cast a woman instead of putting, you know, a mask on a man's face? Like, doesn't make sense. So if I would have a time machine, I would go back to like ancient Greece and I would be like, what the fuck is going on? Why are you doing this?
There's also like a Shakespeare thing as well, isn't it? That all the men, it was all men and no women. And yeah, it's kind of strange, like thinking about that.
Can you imagine a man playing Juliet? Like, I think about it and it's hilarious.
I feel like that's coming back into fashion actually. Like over recent years, I've seen quite a few productions advertised where it's been like all male productions, particularly of Shakespeare. And it makes you wonder, like, where are all the all female productions and all of that? Like, there was an all women. I think there was like one all woman production of Julius Caesar somewhere a couple of years ago, but like you don't see it as often.
No. Also, like in films as well, I don't know if anyone's noticed, but I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. When the whole like Me Too, you know, campaign happened and Time's Up, it was then that I suppose women in film, what's the word? Like when that Ocean's 13 or whatever film it was with all the women, that then started happening. So yeah, I feel like since then, yeah, I feel like, because the thing is, it's tricky because I feel like we're still not equal, if that makes sense.
I think it's better, like, if they feel like they're advertising it, then they feel like they're doing something, because literally all the female films came out in 1 year and they were like, great, job's done, Bob's your uncle. We're finished. Wonder Woman, there you go. Wasp, there you go. You're all done. And I was like, nothing has happened.
Yeah, I hate that.
It was nothing.
I hate that so much because I hate, not only with that, I hate this thing in general where there's a problem and people just like put a sugar coating it. Yeah, they just sugarcoat it, but no one is actually digging the actual roots of the problem. And it's not only with this topic, with everything, you know. It's like, okay, you want equal rights, okay, well, for 1 month, and then and then you go back to normal because no rights for you. It's the same as I mentioned last week about Mental Health Awareness Week, whereas like, why is it just 1 week? Why cannot it be like, why cannot we live in a world where mental health matters in general? And I feel like women, because I think naturally we're a bit more emotional and we base our decisions more on emotions. I feel like with mental health for us, for women, it's seen more as like overreacting or being dramatic. You know, if I don't feel comfortable in a rehearsal room, if there's someone who doesn't understand, they're gonna say, oh, you're being dramatic, you're overreacting. And that's really difficult when you're a bit more sensitive. It's like, it's dramatic straight away, and I hate that word so much. Like, dramatic, just like, don't call me dramatic, it's an actual problem. Hate it.
That's what I always think of as well. Is like, I think when with theatre, well, with any industry really, as a woman, to try and get anywhere, I think there is a need to be, you have to be confident and have to put yourself out there, but then you always run that risk of being labelled as like too brash or bossy, which is a word that I hate, because have you ever heard a man be described as bossy before? Like, you know,
not
so
as
and
often as girls, for sure, not as often as girls.
Exactly. Like, the second that you pick up traits that are deemed masculine, it becomes problematic for those around you.
I just had a question. just because I've been thinking a little bit about sort of like the theme of this episode. I wanted to know, who are the women that inspire us?
I like Debbie Tucker Green like crazy. I know I say this.
Say that.
I know you know I was gonna say this, but I'm gonna say it again.
Go on.
She is a woman of power. Let me tell you why. She designed the show herself. She wrote the show herself. She directed the show herself. She did it all herself, and it was still seen by everyone as amazing, even men. She did it all by herself. I'm not saying you have to be an amazing woman, though. We have to do things for ourselves. But sometimes when it comes down to it, to be an amazing woman, you have to do things for yourself, because a man's not going to do that, or not going to allow you to do it. And that's all for today, kids. Family-wise, I want to say, this is going to be a weird one, but my little baby sister, I know she was only born at the end of last year, but I'm going to say she inspires me simply because of the freshness of life. I watched her crawl for the first time last week over the phone. Over the phone, and I was just like, yes, girl. Like, she crawls more for food than anything else, but she has her goals set out and she gets it. Do you know what I mean? It's inspiring. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do my uni work now because I watched a baby crawl.
That's so sweet.
Mine from theater would be Marina Abramovic, 100%. I watched the documentary, The Artist is Present, like 2 or 3 times, and it's like every time I watch it, it's like I watch it for the first time. It's just so the way she talks about performance and, like, you know, she's basically, you know, she's struggling a lot, like, emotionally, but she deals with it like through doing work, and just how she's pushing the limits of her body, her mind. There are like a few exercises where she's like, you know, you just like count the rice, just like sit and count the rice, and that's like for like developing discipline. Or drink a glass of water in 20 minutes, but like take 20 minutes to drink 1 glass of water, and that's all you think about for those 20 minutes, is like a meditation, you know. And also the love story she had with another artist, I don't remember his name now, but he passed away recently as well. And it's just the whole thing, like, it's I feel like I can relate to her so much emotionally, like when it comes to love, and like the you know, that it's like suffering but it's beautiful. I don't know, I just find it so beautiful. And from my family, I would say of course my mom. But my mom is like, my dad used to call my mom like a little ant, like a little bug. She's like, she carries on through life, like, you know, step by step, very easygoing. She's like, wherever the wind blows, she's going. She's like, yeah, you know, so chill and non-judgmental at all. It's just that she doesn't have like a strong opinion on things, you know. She's like, yeah, I understand, okay. So that just like, in that sense, she inspires me to just like be chill and accept everyone as they are. And, you know, just it's not worth your nerves. Just do you, and don't give a fuck. But yeah, but then at the same time, I'm glad my dad's like, I have my opinion and that's it. So I'm glad that I'm a mix of both, where I'm like, okay, but I do have my opinion. So I'm like, I'm glad I'm a good mix.
I would say so from theatre, I would say Polly Bennett. I don't know if anyone's heard of her, but she's quite a successful movement director. And I feel like she sort of paved way for movement directors and making us a bit more known. Like, she's done everything, like she's done theatre, she's done film, TV. I was actually listening to a podcast episode that she was on like last week. And she was sort of saying you know, she's had to fight her way to the top, you know, to get to where she is. And I just sort of, I do admire her a lot. And then I think, in fact, like, I'm the same as you, but like my mum would be one, just because like growing up, she was always the person to say, like, you go and do whatever you want to do, and like very supportive as well, and I think also because she's like an independent woman, she literally is, and I feel like she has brought me up to be another independent woman just by various things, like learning how to drive, or like learning how to like look after your like finances and things like that. So yeah, she would be another one. But then also I think all of my female friends that I've known, you know, since I was younger, whether that is like friendships that are still up to this point, or like today, or like new friendships, because I feel like I've had a lot of support and a lot of encouragement from those people.
I'm so glad there's been this massive shift, where I remember like in 2010 girls would like cut each other's throats, like metaphorically, but like they would be like, oh, you know, she's prettier than me, or she's doing better than me, I hate her and you should hate her as well, or like bullying and that kind of stuff. I don't know if it was just in Lithuania or it was worldwide, but I definitely see that now girls support girls more, and I'm so glad that's happening. Now there's no more, you know, like, I mean, there still is that a bit of, you know, judgment sometimes, but it's not that big as it was before. Now I feel like, you know, girl power and all that kind of stuff. I'm so glad, because for me personally, when a girl supports me, it means better. It means much more to me than when a man supports me, because I know if a girl's happy for me, it's genuine. Like with boys, you don't necessarily know sometimes, but when a girl says you know, you look beautiful, or that, you know it's true. You know it's true when a girl tells that, you know it's true. Sorry, Naomi.
Oh, sorry. In terms of inspirations, I don't know if I have like one person who's like, you are my hero, but I definitely have a few people that I admire. One that comes to mind would be Jenny Seeley, the artistic director of Grey Eye. She's a disabled-led company. Not in terms of inspiration porn, where it's all, oh my god, aren't they amazing, because these are disabled people who are able to perform. But just in the sense that the work they make is really cool, and I think they've given me a lot of ideas for things that I can take forward in my practice with me, and being more consciously thinking about the work that I make and how accessible it is. And I also have a lot of respect for Emma Rice as well, especially what happened with her at the Globe, because them chucking her out.
Can you remind me what happened? Because I recall something, but not like 100%.
Yeah, I can't remember. She was made like, I think she was like the new artistic director or something like that at the Globe. And then, was it A Midsummer Night's Dream? Or there was a production that she did where basically the Globe is all about performing Shakespeare in a very traditional way. And she brought in a load of new like technical elements and completely flipped it on its head and made it really interesting. But the Globe like wasn't interested in that. And they chucked her out. But I think it's one of those places where they put on some really great productions, but at the same time, because of their ethos and like the determination for it to be sort of more traditional Shakespeare, it does make me wonder, where does the line come between it being just a spectacle and it being art, like theatre? So the Globe is a funny one.
Because I was going to say, I agree with Naomi when she was talking about some good shows and bad shows. Because we went to see, I think it was Richard III, maybe it was Richard VIII. No, I don't know. I can't remember right now off the top of my head. But it was a black woman was playing the king. And I
Okay,
loved
cool.
it because me and Joe Manchin went with the class, and me and her stared at it the whole time. And I was like, I really love it, because she's not that she's not supposed to be there, but it was really great to see her there. And like I've seen that play like so many times now, and I'm like, can't remember the name of it ever, but she did it the best. I loved her
That's so
performance.
cool. That's so cool.
What do you think about women doing male roles? Because there's been a few of like switches.
Yeah, Naomi did one, so maybe she can start with how did you explore the because I think when we see characters, we don't really think about men or women, like it's just a character rather than just a gender,
Yeah, I think it's I'm all for it personally. Like I don't see, I think if you have a real problem with the physical body that you're watching perform something, then I think you need to maybe question your priorities and whether you're interested in the art or whether you're interested in physical appearance and segregation and whatnot. Like, I mean, it was television, but I remember like such a huge show when Jodie Whittaker was announced as the new Doctor for Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And there was so much like debate around, should we be having a woman play the Doctor? And the Doctor's always been a man. And I was like, well, the Doctor's an alien who doesn't exist. I think we can cast them as anyone we like. I just think there is. I think now is more importantly than ever, we need to sort of think more about the bodies that we have on stage and who are we representing, but not necessarily keep things to how they were originally written. I don't think there's any need to keep a man as a man or whatever. I think it also raises the issue as well of the fact that there are actors and non-actors, human beings, who don't necessarily fit the gender binary either. So where do they come into this? We're not seeing enough non-binary bodies, we're not seeing enough transgender bodies on stage, and I think it comes down to more than just a discussion of, is it a man or a woman? Like, who, where are the trans bodies, where are the bodies of colour, where are the disabled bodies on stage? And I think knocking down stuff like saying we're going to flip who's playing this role is a good starting point. I don't think it's necessarily the only way to tackle it, and it'd be great to create new plays that have new characters with bodies that are already not the norm. But I think there is also, people only seem to care about these things when a character was written as a man and it's someone who's not a man playing them. If it were the other way round, if a male actor is playing someone who's not a man, people don't have a problem with it. So people, like, it bugs me that, going back to the Globe, one of my favourite productions that I saw there was of 12th Night, and it was an all-male production, and I'm so gutted that I loved it so much because it was a really good show. But it was all men, but also like in film, when Eddie Redmayne, he's a fantastic actor, but when he was cast as the lead in The Danish Girl, about a transgender woman, and that opportunity was taken away from someone who was actually transgender to play that role. So I think it's sort of, people make it an issue. I think people expose their misogyny and their sexism and their bigotry through caring about it when a woman or whoever else is cast in a man's role. But actually no one cares when a man is playing someone else's role.
I feel like that is a thing though, because I feel like everyone's trying to stay in their own like little tiny art sections by themselves, as if like a black person and a white person and a non-binary person and a man and all those people couldn't be in the same space, in the same production together, doing the same work. It's not like you can only have people that study Shakespeare doing a Shakespeare play. You could have someone that studies Shakespeare somewhere else in a community that might not have been as well off as that one, but they're both in the same place, sharing the same stage together. It's just like, I don't know why there's such like bold boundaries between where you can and can't go why wouldn't we be allowed to all do that when we're all just people? I was just wondering how many times you've heard like the phrase, oh, I thought you were that type of girl though, when you do like anything. Oh, okay. Great. It's not just me, I just all wanted to know. We can vote.
Wait, were we talking about theater?
Yeah, well, any form of life. I've had it in theatre as well. I can't say the name, but there was a
Name and shame,
tutor one time. And I wanted to set up a stage, and I wanted to use some still deck, and I got told I wasn't allowed to lift the still deck with another female friend of mine. And we were both like,
no, if I can lift the steel deck, I can lift the steel deck. Like,
we were lifting still deck all morning. No one else showed up. It was just the two of us doing it all morning. And he just walks in and says, nah, put that down. And we were like, what do you mean? And then I was like, we can do this. I might be costume, but I'm the set girl. And he went, oh, well, I just thought you were one of those girls. I was just like, what type?
Wow.
I think that kind of, like, stuff like that though, I feel like that comes from a real problem with like hypersexualization of women in like the industry. When you think of like so many famous, I would say theatre practitioners, but usually famous women in theatre in the past have been actresses. And like so many of those, you know, vintage ones, or
like
you know,
Marilyn Monroe,
famous actresses, and they're, you know, not necessarily recognized for what they can do, they're recognized for how they look.
yeah.
And
Exactly,
you know,
like with, as I said, with like Marilyn Monroe, she, you know, there's plenty of pictures of her, like, you know, the famous one with the white dress and the wind thing, and just like all the sexy pictures. But has anyone actually saw her movies or like production she's been in? No, I don't, because I haven't seen it. I always say, oh, she's so pretty. Now I just realized that I did the same thing. I'd say, oh, she's so pretty, you know, she's so beautiful, but I actually haven't seen a single movie with her. So I need to do that.
I've seen,
I mean, like, sorry,
Naomi, go on.
No, go for it.
No, I was just going to say, I've seen one movie of hers, which is Some Like It Hot.
Oh, same.
Oh, is that the movie that you've seen?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
My mum loves that film.
Yeah, I mean, I like it as well. And I think it's the way that she's portrayed that make people think certain things about her. Do you know what I mean?
Like sex icon, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it is, yeah.
And like the glamour and, you know, all of that.
Yeah.
I guess like at the time there's not really, you don't have much choice but to go along with it if you want to get anywhere, right? So
okay, I just want to say that. I want to say sorry.
All that's missing is the light bulb above.
Yeah. No, I just want to say there was a film that I watched, and I cannot remember what it's called now. It's got Margot Robbie in it, Nicole Kidman. It came out like earlier this year.
Oh my god, the one about the president and the news, the Fox News thing.
Yes, that's the one. And it's all because it was like a man of power who like owned Fox News, I think. He would like abuse his power and basically like assault these women who just wanted to, all they wanted to do was
is it called Bombshell?
That's the one.
Yes. It was good.
Yeah, it was.
Sorry.
And I actually, because obviously it's based on like a true story, but I had no idea that any of this had happened. Anyway, and he was assaulting these like young women mainly, and he was basically saying like, if you wanna like present, you wanna, you know, be a part of this industry, you know,
come and give me a look-see.
And I think it's just terrible because if you think about it, how long has that been going on before people start to speak up about it? Do you know what I mean? And it was just, I've just reminded myself as well, because I was listening to like a discussion last week with an intimacy coordinator called Ita O'Brien, and she started talking about the whole Harvey Weinstein scandal, and she was sort of saying about like guidelines and especially actors, like making sure that they're safe when it comes to like nudity and even, you know, like touch and stuff like that. So yeah, that it just reminded me, but again, it just terrifies me, the fact that those things could go on forever and no one would know.
I mean, there was a big scandal in Lithuania as well. There is a theater, and it's like the main theater in our city, and it's like, you know, it's just, if you want to go see a show, that's where you go. And basically they got a new director, and then after some time, then there were like a few complaints coming out, but people were trying to just don't talk about it, just like, you know, whatever. But then all women got fed up, and they said, you know, that during rehearsals there was sexual abuse. There was saying, you know, you kiss me or you're gonna be fired, you know, you need to, like, that kind of stuff. And then so women got fed up, and they all started talking about it. There was a big scandal, and now he's fired. But can you imagine, like, how would, as like a wife of that kind of person, how would you, that person is sitting in the rehearsal room and, you know, sexually abusing girls, and just say, you know, if you don't kiss me or, you know, you don't have sex with me, then you gotta be fired. Like for me, this is not something that I can understand, like, not in 21st century, like, never. Smart. But can I ask Kelly, because I know you did a workshop with an intimacy director, and I know we started talking about, like, Pedro was talking about it, you were talking about it, Naomi was saying, like, it would be great to have one, but if you cannot afford one, then, you know, there was this whole thing. So I just want you to talk a little bit about that.
About the discussion.
Yeah, the, like, workshop, just what you took from it, what you didn't know and stuff.
Actually, yeah, so I didn't know, well, first of all, it opened my eyes up to what that role actually is, because I feel like it is a role.
I feel like it's new. I feel like it's very new.
Yeah. And again, like I said, this lady Ita O'Brien, I feel like, because she's done theatre and she's done film and TV, and recently she's done Normal People. I don't know if anyone's seen it, where there's like a lot of like intimacy and a lot of like nudity and stuff like that. Yeah, and so she was talking about sort of how she got into it, and it came from 2015, I believe, so not that long ago. She noticed that there wasn't a lot of knowledge about intimacy in theatre, and so she actually contacted Equity and started asking for their guidelines on intimacy, and so from that she then sort of made it a thing that she sort of wanted change, and she wanted to approach intimacy within theatre, film, TV. And I mean, I think it is fascinating because it goes back to like giving consent, and even not even just with like nudity, but then also like the person that you're with, who you have to be, not have to be, but who you are intimate with. And she was sort of explaining sort of some of the techniques that she actually uses when she's with actors who would then have to lead up to be intimate. And she was talking about like an exercise that she was doing where you have two people, and she was like, right, okay, you get as close as you can, and essentially like move or like just carry on in the room, but you cannot touch. And if like body touches, then it's like over and you have to start again. And then also like talking to actors, saying like, okay, so what is your like no? What is like, because she was saying like no means no, maybe means no also, and a yes is a yes. And she was saying to really encourage actors by saying no, I'm not happy with that. Like this is out of bounds, and she was just saying like, I want people to say it because we want, as like, I think especially as someone who's on the other side of it, like who is like essentially, you know, directing it, creating it, I think me personally, I would like to know if someone is uncomfortable. And there are ways that you could go about that as well. You don't have to like announce it to the room. Do you know what I mean? You could like take me aside, for example, and say, I'm not comfortable with that. But as long as you're like having these conversations and openly saying, I'm not comfortable with that. And actually, so it's just made me think about like saying that in life, saying like, no, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm going to tell this story. This was a couple of years ago, and so annoying, but it was when the whole like Tinder thing happened. Yeah, I admittedly I did the Tinder thing, and
everyone did.
Yeah, everyone did. And there was one, I went on this date, and it was awful. I just want to say this, it was awful. And it got to a point where the person, we were just like sat like this, and then I just felt like this person's arm around me, and I was like, oh, I'm really not comfortable.
I'm listening and I feel sorry for you.
Yeah, it was
what did you say?
Well, at the time I was like, because I didn't have, I just didn't feel in a place where I could be like, actually, I don't want you to do that. Do you know
like it's so, and it's awkward as well. Like I think now with all the like, with, you know, when I'm encouraged to like say no if you don't feel comfortable and that kind of stuff, yeah, I'd be like, sorry, I know I'm not comfortable. But you know, a few years back I'd be like, okay, I guess like,
yeah, exactly. And you like sort of sit and think, oh god, I'm not comfortable with this, but I'm like not in a situation where I can like openly say I'm not happy with this. So it was just like, I just sat there like, help me.
There's a show that I've been binge watching in isolation called Explained, and they do like the women and the men thing. And so they were saying about women, the reason we need to learn to say no as a gender, as a whole thing, as a body, because there's been so many years of us being socialized to be people pleasers. The reason we don't say no is because even if we're uncomfortable, we'd rather be uncomfortable than be uncomfortable and you're upset, because that makes me more uncomfortable. And really, it would just be peaceful if you were happy and I'll just sit here quietly.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, you're gonna feel better when if you say no when you wanted to say no.
Yeah.
And you know, it would have saved me from so many uncomfortable situations where like I would go to meet someone just because I thought it's polite to do so. I remember when we were doing that week's run at Feeling Lonely at Parties, like I felt so sorry for Shamika because every time she had to fix headphones and everything and like costume, and it was just, I feel like we should have a separate person backstage who's not performing, just to like a girl support because I'll fix your hair, you know, I'll fix the costume, pat on the back, and you're good to go.
To be fair though, I feel like we do have that to a level. Yeah, we have Yusuf, and he's great. When he sees me stressed out, he's like, need some space? Great. And just backs up. But then we have Kelly as well, and Kelly's always really great. She's like, do you need a hand? Everyone else.
Have you had water? Have you slept?
Oh my gosh. Kelly literally is my in the studio nurse. I walk in there with no water and she's like, why did you come here?
Where's the snacks?
Also, when did you get comfortable saying like when you're at rehearsal and you know you have one of those like painful
sorry, fly just through. I think it's a fly. I hope it's not a bee. Sorry. Don't mind me, it's a fat fly. Don't worry about it. I'm so sorry.
No, you know, when it used to be like, I know that I absolutely went through it, that when you would go to like rehearsal or whatever and you're on period
Ugh.
You have to go to the bathroom and you're like, but you've just been like, and I just feel I'm so grateful that we can finally say I'm on period, so don't expect too much from me today. It's such a relief. Because if there was someone who would be like, it's not a, when people say, it's not an illness, and it's usually guys saying that, or you didn't experience period in your life.
It's
So
true, because
I'm so glad that we have that now.
Because it makes you, well, for me anyway, so I get very tired. I get like, my energy is so low. I get like real discomfort as well. And it's like, I then have to go into a room and give my energy to everyone. And it's like, I don't want to. So yeah, I feel like, yeah. Actually, there was the tennis player, Heather Watson, I think her name is. She was like doing a campaign about women in like the workplace who have really bad like period pains and symptoms and things like that, to have like that time off if you need it. And of course everyone was like, yeah, like as you said, it's not an illness, it's fine, you can carry on, it's fine. But no, if you've experienced it, you know what it feels like. So
yeah. I have a friend from work, she can barely get out of her bed when she's on period. Like, it can be that bad, so I definitely don't agree with like, hey, you can just carry on.
There 100% needs to be so much more education to people who don't menstruate about what goes on for people who do, and I think it's important in an artistic sense to surround yourself, like the people who you work with who don't menstruate, make sure they're people who are understanding, like Yusuf. I remember for third year core, I had a rehearsal where I was on my period and I was just not feeling it, and our artistic director Corey came up to me and he was like, what's going on with you today, like what's wrong, like, and I was just like, Corey, I'm on my period. And he was just like, oh, it's fine, just sit down, take a break, just make yourself comfortable, like, it's not a big deal. But we need more people like that, like Yusuf, who are just like, okay, get on with it.
Yeah, I'd say I strongly agree, because I think as well, I mean, Naomi, I don't know if you ever experienced, but I know that I've been in a rehearsal with Yeva and Kelly where I've been in so much pain, I've been like, I need to leave this room.
Yeah, I need a break.
And I think having Yusuf is amazing, because he doesn't just understand like that you can just have those pains. He understands there's other things that can make those things worse. I think it's a struggle to find in directors, but it's great when you find it.
Because it's an irritation as well, when it's like, could you just not breathe? Like, it's just so annoying. Like, you can hear, like, I think when I'm like on like PMS or on period, I can hear everything much better. Like every chew, every breathe, everything, like everything, just like so annoying. Whereas like on a daily life, I'm like, yeah, it's okay, it's fine. But when those days come, I'm like, just don't think I need like earplugs, or something.
I eat such crap as well on my period. Like, all I want is like junk food. I remember like several months ago I was doing a project and we had quite a few early morning rehearsals, and to be fair, this happened when I wasn't on my period as well, but like would turn up at like 8 a.m. and like I'd have like a chocolate bar or something for breakfast, and one of the guys in the rehearsal room, he'd always just be like, you need to make sure you're eating a proper breakfast, like you need to not be doing this to yourself, like why haven't you eaten before you come? And I was like, don't you tell me what to eat, mate. You don't know what's going on right
exactly
now. And even if I'm not bleeding, just don't tell me what to eat, okay?
We should start wrapping up.
Yeah, I was just about to say I think we've gone past the hour, but maybe we could all say something that we take away from this conversation. We don't have to, but maybe it's just something. I'll start.
Wait, I thought Naomi starting, but you go.
Yeah, because it selected Naomi.
Sorry.
No, Naomi, you start.
No, I'm go, Kelly, go.
Wait, no, it was just about like encouraging to say no if you're uncomfortable. Say no. and have the confidence to say it, because it's important, I think.
Naomi, sorry, Shamika.
Yeah, no, I can say definitely. I think supporting one another is really important, and being willing to take stock of who's in the room and willing to call out when certain people aren't in the room.
The whole thing about the period thing makes me think of like a join if you can policy. Like if you're watching this and me myself, I'm going to go away and talk to my directors and my facilitators, whatever kind of room I'm in, to be like, there's different levels of pain. There's some people that can come but can't join in, and there's some people that can't come in. Maybe we should video for them or something, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was a very lovely conversation. I didn't know where it's gonna go, to be honest. I was like, I you know, whichever way it's gotta go. But actually, it's been very lovely, and I feel like the best thing about like what I'm taking from this is that we acknowledge our rights as well as our responsibilities, you know, and we have a right to make ourselves comfortable wherever we are, wherever we work. We just have to make sure we're comfortable with the people we work with the space we work in. And yeah, I'm just glad we can acknowledge that and say, you know, I deserve better if it's not good enough for me.
I was going to say about like our social media, it'll be in the description box, right?
Yeah.
Follow us,
like, subscribe, comment
subscribe.
which other topics you want us to talk about. It's very interesting, and yeah, we're excited to see everyone very soon.